Hi everyone. Today on Web Day, we are talking about how, as educators and education advocates, we can develop the empathetic mindset we need in order to really connect with our students and create positive change at our school sites. So I'm sure you know, as educators, we seek to know our students really deeply, and shadowing a student is one way we can do this. So stay with me as I share the what, the why, and the how of shadowing a student. If you can see me, hear me, go ahead and press the like button so that I know that you're there. Or if you're watching live, you can type your location into the comments. It's fun to know if people are watching from different parts of the world. So before we dive in, let me introduce myself. My name is Jenn Scharf, and right now I'm here in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest EDU, but I typically work from my home office in Vancouver, Canada. I am the project lead for the Shadow a Student Challenge, which is a project developed by the K-12 lab at the Stanford Design School in California. So I primarily work remotely with the team. The Shadow a Student Challenge has been running since 2016 with support from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. And this challenge is essentially a time when educators from around the world sign up on our website to take the Shadow a Student Challenge, and they spend a full day shadowing a student from beginning, even if that means getting on the bus if you can, if your student rides a bus, in the morning, participating in every aspect of the student's day and the school experience. Why do educators do this? What is the purpose? And why should you also be taking the challenge? So I'm excited to share with you why shadowing is so powerful and how it can lead to improvements in the experience that students have at school. So shadow in a nutshell. What is shadow? As I mentioned, it's a fun, illuminating, and supportive journey where educators come together to empathize with their students and then take new kinds of actions at their schools. Why shadow? Really, educators and researchers have known for a long time that shadowing can lead to powerful observations and insights to drive change. So the Shadow a Student Challenge project didn't invent the idea of shadowing. We're really just providing tools and a format to support people to shadow themselves, and a community as well. And all of that will drive deeper learning for students. So in terms of who can shadow, this program is open to all educators all around the world at any school. It is free. You can sign up anytime on our website to receive resources and support. Right now, we're actually in the 2-week really active phase of shadow that happens every year, where we encourage people to shadow within this 2-week time block so that we can just really generate a lot of buzz and support across the network. So we have a few more days of that going until Friday. You can still sign up even if you shadow later and be part of this really intensive time block where we're encouraging shadowing across the world. So yeah, if you're automatically thinking yes, then I'll give you the information. That's fantastic. You can always head over to the website to sign up and you'll get a welcome email with some resources. But this also connects, shadowing also connects to deeper conversations. So this month at HundrED, we are exploring the theme of diversity in education and how does shadow relate to diversity and equity in education. So in order to have diversity and equity, you really must be able to understand the experiences of others. And this can be really hard. We all have our own experiences and personal biases, but it's essential that we really consciously create intention and really work actively to see diverse perspectives so that we can create from a place of true respect and understanding. And a key to developing these diverse perspectives is to create intentional focus on empathy. And empathy is that ability to really understand the thoughts and feelings and values and perspectives of another. It's really crucial as educators that we develop a mindset of empathy in order to truly connect with our students and to really nurture healthy relationships and model empathy as teachers. And the Shadow a Student Challenge aims to give educators a way to actually practice and develop this empathetic mindset by seeing the world through the eyes of students. So what does it actually look like? So what are the steps and what are the tools that we provide for you to actually go out and shadow? And after I share the basic steps, if there's some people who are on live and you want me to answer any questions, I can do that. And I'll also point you to some, actually even a recent article that came out yesterday by one of our shadowers, published online, that you can go and read and get a better sense of some of the outcomes and experience that happen. So the first thing that you're going to do is prepare. And I get a lot of questions about preparing and a lot of concerns and how will I get support and how do I select a student, and those concerns are totally valid. Like some administrators are going to be more supportive, so really reach out to your administrator and get the support that you need, and reach out to us if you need resources or you're unsure how to get permission to shadow, and we're happy to help where we can. And in this preparation phase, this is the time to really think about what's my learning goal for this experience and what student should I seek out to shadow? Is there a particular type of student within the school community that it would really benefit me to spend the day in their shoes? You might also ask yourself, you know, what do I hope to learn about my school during this challenge? What do I hope to learn about myself during this challenge? So the mindset that you're working on during this preparation phase is really questioning assumptions. So you'll learn the most from your shadow experience if you really go in with a beginner's mindset and beginner's eyes, instead of coming in with preconceived notions or ideas of what to expect that you're going to see, especially if you've taken this challenge before. We have people who do this more than once, so it can always be different, and we need to gather some testimonials to that fact because I hear those stories all the time. So yeah, this preparation phase is when you're starting this design challenge. Rather than using your shadow day to seek answers to the problems you think you'll find, let the empathy experience of shadowing shine a light on challenges and opportunities at your school that you may not have even known were there. So then the second part after you've done that preparation is to shadow. So you want to spend the entire day shadowing your selected student, capturing your observations along the way. And the purpose of the shadow isn't to observe classes, right, but to immerse yourself in the student experience. So plan to spend the entire day, you know, from the bus stop to the final bell, walking in the shoes of your students. So if they're going to have some kind of special activity that day, or they're going to be going to physical education, make sure you have your running shoes because you're going as well. You might ask yourself at this point, you know, how can I make my student feel comfortable? How can I break the ice with them before we begin our shadow day? You might reflect on, like, how can I really authentically step into the shoes of my students today? Really, I think it's beneficial to spend a bit of time, you know, just sitting with that question. And you might also think about what lunch am I going to pack and what am I going to wear? Those might be things your student is worrying about on a daily basis as well. So the mindset in this phase is around being really student-centered. Try to do everything your student does without judgment. Again, you're taking that test, you're going to PE. Make sure you have what you need, be curious, ask open-ended questions to understand the needs of your student. And just really bring yourself back to looking at your school through beginner's eyes. After all that is done, you're moving into the third phase, which is reflection. So, oh yeah, I'm getting a comment here from Derek about how preparation sounds so important. So not to come with preconceived ideas and prepare for unexpected finds. Absolutely, this is, it's so difficult. So I think it's really worth being honest with ourselves that we're doing the best we can, but to really set the intention. And when you notice yourself, you know, assessing the teacher, you know, and the lesson plan in your room, just really bringing yourself back instead to, you know, what is the experience of my student right now? That's awesome. Yeah. And then the really cool part after that, of course, is that you can spend some time reflecting. So you've undoubtedly learned some interesting new things at this point, and it's time to figure out what all of it means. So you want to take some time to really digest what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. So you might ask we have some guided questions and tools to help you, and some of the questions we encourage are things like, you know, what was the most memorable experience from today? What really stood out for you and why? What surprised you? What delighted you? Because oftentimes you'll actually find really wonderful things that are happening that you weren't aware of. How did my experience differ from my expectations? Even though you're coming in trying to really let go of your assumptions, you're likely still going to have some ideas of how it's going to go. So doing a little compare and contrast can really help kind of awaken you to what you expected or what your assumptions were and what really happened. And then if you created a learning goal during your preparation phase around something specific you were curious about, you know, this is the time to kind of explore what you discovered related to that goal. So the mindset here, excuse me, is to really see challenges as opportunities. So it can be really overwhelming to immerse yourself in the student world for the day. We often hear comments about just how exhausting the day is, which probably doesn't surprise most of us if you've taught in the classroom. And you may have seen a lot of room for improvement in your students' experience, and that's great. It means you've empathized with them enough to see those unmet needs so that they can be addressed. If you have the opportunity, it can be also really valuable to take your reflection into a group, like with colleagues, or to share your observations, maybe at a faculty meeting or with an administrator, in terms of even sharing with friends. Just sometimes it can really help to reflect with other people. You might discover some new things that you didn't do when you were just processing on your own. There's some comments coming in, that's great. So if you have questions, we should have time. Yeah, we'll have time because I'm almost done this part. So as I see them, as we finish this kind of fourth phase, I will address them. I really need water, sorry you guys, dry throat. Excuse me. Okay, so fourth, you've done all of these things. We're now really encouraging you to take some kind of action. So I'm really having a bit of a cough here. Excuse me, guys. Wow, okay. So you're ready to put your learning into action using an opportunity that you found through your observations. The next step is to come up with some manageable way to make a small change at your school. And we really encourage people to create a really small hack, and I'll talk about why in a minute. So in this phase of action, you're asking yourself, you know, what is the most pressing student need that should be addressed? What's something I can try even next week that can help me learn more about my new ideas? My goodness. And what makes me the most excited about taking action, or the most nervous, perhaps? Sometimes that's the space you want to go to. So the mindset in this phase is having a bias towards action rather than, say, overthinking too long in your head. So you've done the reflection, you know, move yourself to action. You might be eager to make like huge change on a large issue, and ultimately that's great. But it's easier and often really starts to get the ball rolling when we begin with those quick wins, right? So rather than a full-blown solution at this phase, just start by trying a hack, right? Which we define as a small experiment to rapidly test ideas for immediate feedback. So there's no perfect here. Only using that empathetic mindset, staying, in the process to experiment with tackling a big idea in small chunks by starting with a hack. And to see some examples of hacks, we have a few on our website, and we also have stories on our website that we're always updating, but this is the place where sometimes people get stuck. So reach out to us if you need support, or tap into kind of the Shadow a Student community, which is pretty active on Twitter. We're trying to get Facebook going as well. But really just think small so that you don't prevent yourself from actually moving this to a place of action. It might be something as simple as, we've had principals who decided they needed to be more visible, so they moved their desk out into the hall for a day or a day of the week, right? So it's just, and then getting immediate feedback on whether that's actually useful. It didn't need to be overthought. It was just that's a simple way to kind of put yourself in a position and get immediate feedback from students. You might even, maybe you want some feedback from students, and you create like a live poll where they can give feedback and you can get immediate insight from them. Maybe you end up seeing that there are many students who need more relationship building, and you decide to work one-on-one with one student to see if you can develop deeper connection and support just even that one student, right? So really, yeah, start small and then iterate as you go, right? You get feedback and then, try again, try a next little hack, move it to the next phase. So at this point, you've shadowed, you've reflected, you've acted. Now what can you do? This cough is crazy, you guys. I can't seem to kick it. So at this point, you can spread the word, engage with your students, staff, and community. Share your story. You can submit it on our website. We love to feature stories, but we also just love to keep track of who's shadowing and what they're learning. And then we use that information to compile, a larger synthesis of the shadow experience globally each year. So we love it when you submit your story to us online. You can always select that you don't want us to share the story, but we would just use it as part of our data capture. And if you do want us to share the story and you have photos and you've gotten permission, we update our website with some of those stories and the answers to the questions that you provide. So yeah, that's that. I have a little link to an article here. I'll just drop it in the chat. This is from one of our principals who let's see if it comes up there. Yeah, who shadows almost every year, and just sent a link to a piece about his shadow experience. So you can click through. It's on the online, theheraldneeds.com, and it's just fun to read that experience. And if you'd like to reach out or take the shadow experience, you can find us at shadowastudent.org. I'll just put that in the chat as well. Again, you can sign up anytime, and we just really encourage you to work on developing that empathetic mindset and have fun while you're shadowing. Get to know your students, see the world through different eyes for the day. If anyone has any questions before I wrap up, feel free to pop them in the chat now. And thanks, I appreciate seeing some comments there. It looks like, Jonathan, like if you're still here, you started a question in terms of preparing, but it didn't complete, so I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So I'll just kind of keep talking for a minute in case you wanted to pop something in there. We're also on Twitter at School Retool, #ShadowAStudent. School Retool is our larger kind of umbrella program, so sometimes people who shadow then apply to be part of the School Retool cohort program, which is a fellowship program. So you can head on over to the website at Shadow a Student and get linked to School Retool there. Derek says a number of staff in a number of our schools have shadowed a student and they love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, you know, I often think it would be amazing if it was an ongoing professional development practice at all levels, from teachers up to administrators. There's real power there. And the key is getting to sort of from the reflection to the action. But shadowing in and of itself for sort of personal development is a great place to start, and then moving through the phases. So fantastic. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for having me, and look forward to the next web day and also learning more from the community. So visit the HundrED website, check out all of the different innovations that are there, and we'll see you again another time. Bye for now. Thanks everyone.